big issues is with the declamation of the reef, and I'm sure you know the Department of Aquatic Resource guys, Skippy and Russell Sparks, and they have alarming facts of how much coral has gone just in the past few years. Just set me off in a lot of ways, but that's one of our main issues, and it's different from Nova Eha as far as, because the stream's been cut off so long, the lohis are just, they've been dry for so long, there's never been a chance for anybody to grow up there. But the action is very critical because the reef is at such a desperate level, it could not have any more coral, and it is a marine reserve. That fresh water should flow, and it's almost emergency to get that stream turned on there. So one of the things we can ask you is to kind of put this in as almost an emergency thing. And Angus has said he will propose to get this stream flow going for us. Maui Pine denies a dam and denies a diversion up there. We have pictures of it, and there'll be some articles coming in the newspaper. We're working with the newspaper on it, trying to bring that out because it's like you've been up there. Your husband knows where your father-in-law knows the system intimately. There's plenty of water in these mountains, and we're not seeing any of it. So I think before, we did have agriculture. We never had any fires. It was we had tons and tons of water, and now we need, as this is something that we could ask you, and can you help us with getting these streams restored all around West Maui? You got a plan for that at all?
Absolutely. We have this respect thing in the legislature. We would work with the representative from that district in introducing legislation, because you want to make sure that they're on the same side, and it's not right protocols if I was to introduce something that your rep wouldn't support. But I would work with Angus if this is something you folks want. I'm just going to be honest with you, it's not easy, because you're also dealing with economics too. If that water was diverted years ago, why was it diverted? So you got to look at all that too, because I'm dealing with that in East Maui as well. Getting back to the reefs, we talk about the depletion of everything that's going on in the water, but we don't look at the ecological balance of how things are. And I think some of that depletion of the reefs is because of development too, and runoffs, and it's all of that. I've heard in testimonies in our hearings where, especially with my Ahamoku bill, where people were coming at us and saying that Hawaiians don't know what they're doing. Very offensive. And people from outer islands coming in, and they're not Native Hawaiians, and they're just coming at us and telling us that the reason why we don't more fish is because you guys fill up your ice boxes and don't leave enough, and and I just believe, because how I was raised, if we practice how we're supposed to practice, then it would be enough for all, and that was the whole concept with the Ahamoku. But how do you do that? Because today, with the generations, it keeps changing, and what information is the proper information when you're educated? And so that was the whole intent of the Ahamoku, was to bring some of that ancient ways, and how do we implement it in today and teach our children the value of our aina, of our ocean, of our air. Everything as a component is part of their learning. That was one of the things we see with kids, how they don't even respect their kupunas. So for me, that's really, I'm passionate about anything to do with kupunas because I was raised by my kupuna, and I was raised off the land. I used to fish, dive. In fact, when I met my husband, he said, wow, this chick, she can dive, because he's a diver too. My point is that we have to look at ways that we're going to find the balance, and right now our ecological system is out of balance. That's why we don't have enough, and we just, through working with the kupunas, they kept saying, we got to go back to how some of the practices are there. We don't want to ignore what today's world brings. We know that there's value, but how do we bring them together to find that balance, but to still teach that aloha? Does that make sense? We want to be inclusive, but we got to start somewhere. And many people saw this as a threat until they came and sat down with me, many different groups, because it's all about control, and they want to control this resource or that resource. Well, what about us all working together? Let's put everything on the table. Let's see what is the best practices in that community, in this community as far. You know, we all live in the same community. We all want the same thing, but how do we get there? You know, and I truly believe we need to support the host culture. And that's one of the things that are lacking. I mean, sure, we have tourism, but I'm sorry, we're just tourism out. We need to look outside the box and how we're going to keep our people here. Not just local people, but people who made their life here, how we're all going to live together and work together and find better ways to have our cost of living much cheaper. But also, how we're going to sustain our living when we get cut off from the rest of the world. You know, energy, food production. We don't have enough food if we have a disaster and they can't bring in. I mean, we got to look at those things now. The Ahamoku would be a place where that can have that discussion, you know, and how we all can work together.